Where today we are going to be going over our Week 4 predictions for the NFL season. And before we get into this video, make sure you leave a like, comment down below what you agree with and what you disagree with, and also make sure you subscribe. I'm pretty sure 95ish% of people who watch these videos are not subscribed, so please make sure you subscribe. It will help me a lot. And you obviously don't want to miss more content as the season keeps progressing. But without further ado, let's get into these predictions. And quickly, looking at our last week, we didn't do so well. 8-8, 50-50, 500, shot 50%. And that brings our total record to 28-19. Looking for a bounce back week this week in week 4. So first, we have the Thursday night matchup between the Cowboys and the Giants. Now, I'm pretty sure these teams have played each other the Cowboys have played the Giants quite well in the recent seasons, or at least when looking at the last season. Trying to pull up the record between these two teams. Last year, the Cowboys beat the Giants by a combined score of 89-17. The last time the Giants beat the Cowboys was in 2021 on January 3rd. So the Cowboys have kind of owned the Giants, so to speak, in recent history. They've also just been the better team. Their offense has been great, the Cowboys. They have the number one passing. I think they've thrown for the most passing yards per game, or at least up there. The Giants' defense in the past game has been pretty good. Their run defense has been subpar, and the Cowboys' defense honestly hasn't been that good. Especially their run defense. They're 32nd in rushing yards allowed and 30th in points allowed. So I do think the Giants will be able to score a decent amount of points. Give the ball to Malik Neighbors, give the ball to Devin Singletary. I think they can create some points. However, I think the Cowboys will just be too much for the Giants at the end of the day, and I have the Cowboys winning this one 30-17 over the Giants. Next game is the Saints at the Falcons. Saints coming in this game 2-1. Falcons are 1-2. This would be a very important game for the division, as it seems like these two teams can be up there trying to get that division. The Saints, obviously, first two games, insane offensively. Derek Carr and the Saints, I think, scored on they scored on 15 straight drives or possessions or something like that. But they kind of slowed down a little bit versus the Eagles. But the Falcons, outside of their passing defense, has not been very good defensively. They've been okay in some categories. Their run defense is not, though. And I do think Kamara could take advantage of that Falcons run defense. However, I do also feel like the Falcons offense can potentially generate something versus the Saints defense, kind of like what the Eagles did. So I have the Falcons winning this one 24-21 over the Saints. Next matchup is the Panthers hosting the Cincinnati Bengals, the 1-2 Panthers and the 0-3 Bengals. Crazy to say that the Bengals are 0-3. Andy Dalton's revenge game versus the Bengals. I don't know if it's really a revenge game. I don't think he hates them or anything, but it's his return game versus the Bengals, I guess. Bengals are favored in this one. Panthers' offense, obviously, throughout the season has looked bad, but they throw Andy Dalton in there, and that offense clicked. So did the defense as well. I do think this will be a very close, competitive game. I think the Bengals will be able to run the ball very well, as the Panthers' run defense hasn't been very good. The only time they played good was versus the Raiders, who have not had a good rushing attack through most of the season. So I do think the Bengals will have success in the run game. I think the Panthers will have success in the pass game. Maybe a little bit of success in the run game as well. Jamar Chase, I don't think he's going to have as good of a game versus that he did versus the Commanders, as the Panthers' pass defense has been quite decent. At least they were last week, especially against a guy like Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers. So I do think it'll be a close game, but I do have the Bengals taking this one 28-24 over the Panthers. Next, we have a matchup of 1 and 2 teams. The Los Angeles Rams taking on the Chicago Bears. The Bears are actually favored in this game. This was a toss-up for me. Bears defense has obviously been very, very good throughout the season. Their run defense has been great. However, their pass defense hasn't been as good. Or no, their pass defense has actually been better than their run defense. Excuse me. So I think this will be a lower-ish scoring game. It won't be like 10-13, I don't think. But the Rams coming off of a very impressive win over the Niners. They couldn't stop Jawan Jennings, but it didn't really matter. They pulled it late there in the end, came back. So I do think Caleb Williams and the Bears will be able to put some points on the board, but I do have the Rams upsetting the Bears here, 20-13. Next game is Vikings-Packers. Packers favored in this one. I'm not sure if Jordan Love is going to play or not. He's questionable. He could have played last week, so maybe that means he has a good chance to play this week. If it's Jordan Love, I could definitely see the Packers winning this one, despite the Vikings at their 3-0 start being one of like the best defenses in football, especially in the run. But if Jordan Love's playing, if Malik Willis is playing, he's played great. Don't get me wrong. Malik Willis has impressed me a lot. He's just avoided making mistakes, even though that was kind of what he did versus the Colts. But I feel like versus the Titans, he actually played really well. Like, he wasn't just trying to win the game or like not lose the game. He was trying to win the game. So I think if Malik Willis is playing, I think the Vikings win this. And I think if Jordan Love's playing, I think it could go 50-50. And since we're not sure on Jordan Love's health as of when I'm recording this video, which is Thursday, September 26th, I'm going to go with the Vikings winning this one 21-13 over the Packers. Next game is a AFC South battle between the 2-1 Houston Texans and the 0-3 Jacksonville Jaguars. Firstly, the Jags have just not looked good at all this season, coming off of a blowout loss to the Buffalo Bills, who obviously is a good team. And the Texans are coming off of a blowout loss, not as bad as the Jags got blown out by, but still a blown out loss to the Vikings, where C.J. Stroud looked like an average quarterback for one of the very few times in his career. However, I think the Texans' defense is going to be able to get the job done versus this lackluster Jags offense. And I do think the Texans win this one 24-14. If it was at Jacksonville, maybe I'd give them the win, but as a little upset pick, but I'll go Houston here winning this one 24-14. Now we get to the 3-0 Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to Indianapolis to take on the 1-2 Colts. Now, going into last week, the Colts defense has been very bad. Their rush defense particularly has been awful. However, when they played the Bears last week, their defense actually played pretty well. So I don't know if that means they just played better, or is it more of a Bears offense not being so good, at least in the run game, because Caleb Williams threw for a ton of yards. Now, he threw like 50 or so passes to do so, but he got a lot of yards. However, this Colts defense has just not been good, and the Steelers' offense has been, I think, good enough, especially in the ground game with Najee, Jalen Warren, and Justin Fields. I think the Steelers' offense will be able to take advantage enough of the Colts' defense, and I think the Steelers' defense will be able to make it difficult enough for Anthony Richardson, kind of like what the Bears' defense did. And I think the Colts will end up winning this one, or the Steelers will end up winning this one 20-14. Next, we have the Broncos versus the Jets. 2-1 Jets are favored over the 1-2 Broncos. Broncos coming off of a big win at Tampa Bay. Bo Nix gets his first win as a starter. He looked very good. Bo Nix was very impressive. Went from like all the mistakes he was making his first two games to it felt like a very mistake-free game last week versus Tampa. Their offense is still overall subpar. The Jets' defense is obviously still very good, including Will McDonald. I think that's his name. The second year, because they lost Jermaine Johnson, so they needed him to step up, and he's been great. I think he's like second in sacks. Not to mention guys like Quincy Williams, Quinnen Williams, Gardner, Reed, all the guys they have there. So their defense has been great. So I think their defense will be able to make it difficult for Bo Nix because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense hasn't been that good this season. The Jets defense has. So I think they'll make it difficult enough for Bo Nix. Now the Broncos do have a good defense, but I think Aaron Rodgers will be able to do enough because the Patriots had a good defense. The Patriots defense has played good up to their Thursday night game versus the Jets, and they put up enough points. So I think the Jets will put up enough points in a close game here, winning this one 20-17 over the Broncos. Speaking of the Buccaneers, their next game is hosting the Eagles in a matchup of 2-1 teams. Eagles favored just slightly in this game, coming off of a impressive, somewhat comeback win versus the Saints. Dallas Goedert coming off of a monster performance. The Eagles will be without, I'm pretty sure, without A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. I think their number one guys are going to be Paris Campbell and Jahan Dotson. So we'll see if they could take advantage of this Buccaneers defense. I think their run game and Dallas Goedert will be just fine. So I think when it comes to the Eagles offense versus the Bucs defense, I think they'll be able to put enough points on the board. However, I do think it'll be a low-scoring game with the lack of Eagles weapons, just like it was versus New Orleans. So I think the Eagles win this one 17-14 over Tampa Bay. Next game, Commanders-Cardinals. Commanders coming off of a very, very impressive win at Cincinnati, forcing the Bengals to go 0-3, which is still crazy to say. I know they start bad, but this is a little bit different. They normally start like 0-2, not 0-3. But speaking of but talking about the Commanders, obviously Jaden Daniels, potentially Rookie of the Year favorite right now, probably is the favorite for Rookie of the Year. But forget Jaden Daniels. The overall team is coming off of a great game. Their run game was good enough. Terry McLaurin had a good game. Their defense played okay. They did let Joe Burrow have 3 touchdowns, and they didn't turn the ball over or force a punt. So I could see this being a high-scoring game. However, I just feel like I don't know. This was a toss-up, but I wanted to pick a big upset, so I'm going my upset of the week, Commanders over the Cardinals, 27-24. I think Jaden Daniels continues his hot streak, and I think they get a narrow win over the Cardinals. Now, a game that, in my opinion, isn't so 50-50. We have the biggest favorite of the week, which is the Niners favored over the Patriots, despite both teams being 1-2. Niners coming off of a very unfortunate loss to the Rams, and the Patriots coming off of a pretty brutal loss to the Jets. Their O-line couldn't do anything. They throw Drake May in there, and he's getting sacked as well. I wasn't disappointed with what I saw from Drake May. Outside of the first pass where he almost threw it straight to the defender because he telegraphed his pass, I wasn't too upset with what I saw from Drake May. But the Patriots offense as a whole has just been okay. They've been able to run the ball well. Hunter Henry's had some good performances. But I just think that, especially if I don't know the injury status of Debo and Kittle. Debo's doubtful and Kittle's questionable. If Kittle's playing, I think Kittle, Jawan Jennings, Jordan Mason will be enough weapons for the Niners to put up enough points. And then I think their defense will hold the Patriots pretty well. And I have the Niners winning this one 28-13. And this is my lock of the week. I know it's the biggest spread or biggest favorite, but this is my lock of the week, Niners over the Patriots. Moving on, we have Browns-Raiders. This is a very interesting game. Both teams coming off of disappointing losses. The Raiders get blown out by the Panthers at home, and the Browns are coming off of a loss to the Giants at home, where they seemed in pretty good command of that game the Giants seemed in pretty good command of that game until the Browns made a little bit of a comeback. But overall, they didn't play very well against the Giants. So I'm not quite sure how to feel about these two teams. I think this will be a not necessarily low-scoring game, but I don't think either team will put up 30. I do think it's going to come down to which defense plays the best. And I just trust the Browns defense a little bit more than the Raiders defense. So I'm going to give the Browns this one 24-20 over the Raiders. Next game, Chiefs-Chargers. Chiefs coming off of a Sunday night win versus the Falcons, and the Chargers coming off of a loss to the Steelers. You can say how you want about how the Chiefs won that game. I'm not here to get into all of that. I'm just here to predict the game between these two teams. And Mahomes, you can say what you want about how he's played this season, how guys like Kelsey's played this season. Mahomes just does well versus the AFC West. I think he's like 35-3 versus the AFC West. And the Chargers struggled versus the Steelers team. I know they didn't have Herbert for like the second half of the game. He's questionable. If Herbert doesn't play, I don't think this is even close. If Herbert does play, I still have the Chiefs winning this one. I'll have them. If it is Herbert, I'll have the Chiefs winning this one 24-20. Because although they play well against the AFC West and win most of their games, it seems like when it comes to the Chargers, the games are pretty close. But they manage to win. So I got the Chiefs winning this one over the Chargers. Next is the Bills-Ravens. Both teams coming off different types of wins. Bills coming off of a dominating performance over the Jags, where Josh Allen and that offense looked unstoppable in the first two quarters. And then the Ravens coming off a game where they looked like they were going to blow out the Cowboys in like the first half. And then the Cowboys made a little bit of a comeback there. Ravens favored in this game. This is another toss-up. This is definitely going to be a great game. The Bills' run defense hasn't been the best. However, the Ravens' run defense has been exceptional. And that is, I think, the Bills' strong suit is their run game with Josh Allen, James Cook. And I think that difference is going to give the Ravens a slight edge in this game. And I have them winning a high-scoring game. Should be a good one. 30-28 over the Bills. Then we get to our Monday night doubleheader. First game is a very, very interesting game. Going into the year, this will be an intriguing matchup, especially considering what happened last year when these teams played on Monday night, where Will Levis had that miraculous comeback. But so far this year, the Titans' defense has been good, but Will Levis has had his struggles. And then the Dolphins going into the season, obviously, are projected to be a good team, but their quarterback situation has kind of hindered their ability to really get this season going. It looks like they might be starting Tyler Huntley, who I do like that as an option over a guy like Skylar Thompson. I know Tyler Huntley's been in a Ravens system where it's very catered to Lamar and he plays similar to him. But I don't think Tyler Huntley's that bad of a backup quarterback. I do think he can give the the Dolphins a chance to win this game. But I think that Titans defense is going to be too much. I think it's going to determine on the defense, and I'm going to go with the Titans defense over the Dolphins. So I have the Titans winning a low-scoring game, 17-13 over the Dolphins. Last game, another good one. I think this will be another great game between the Seahawks and the Lions. Seahawks, very surprising 3-0 start. But to be honest, I'm not really surprised. Geno Smith's playing great football. He's giving it to his weapons: DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, JSN, Charbonnet, Kenneth Walker when he's healthy, even a guy like Noah Fant. And then their defense with their new coach, Mike McDonald. I got to get this right. He came over from the Ravens. Yeah, Mike McDonald, okay. Their defense, obviously, with their great secondary, has been playing good football. So we're all surprised that the Seahawks start, or at least maybe I am, but I really shouldn't be. Now, looking at the Lions, they've been a little interesting because they had that great first win in overtime over the Rams. Then they kind of had an underwhelming loss to the Bucs, and then they had a somewhat impressive win over the Cardinals. So they've kind of been, I don't really know how to evaluate the Lions. Their offense in the run game has been great, even in the pass game as well. Their defense, their pass defense, has still had its question marks. They got a lot of young guys in there, but they maybe haven't hit that step yet, as it is hard to be a young corner. You don't see many succeed quite like a Sauce Gardner or Pat Surtain. Then the Seahawks have a great passing attack. I do think this will be a very close, high-scoring game. But I'm just going to give it to the edge. I'm going to give the home team the edge here, and I got the Lions winning a close one, 28-27 over the Seahawks. That will conclude our Week 4 predictions for this 2024 NFL season. As always, let me know. Give me your picks. Give me some of your predictions. Leave a like. And, of course, please hit that subscribe button. And also turn the notification bell on so you don't miss more content. And I will see you guys next time. Peace.